Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of the Metabolic podcast. Now this episode is a little bit different, as you can see if you're watching on YouTube. Not the usual decor here. I'm actually back on holiday in England, back in the UK with my parents, so please excuse the slightly unusual decor. It's pretty cold here at the moment, so yes, I've got a fire that side. It's an actual fire. This is not a green screen or anything, that is an actual fire. If you're listening on the podcast, thanks very much for tuning in. Now, this is a slightly different episode. It's an impromptu episode. And because I'm on a holiday, I wasn't really planning on recording anything, although I have released a couple of interviews. So I made this episode because I've actually got COVID at the moment. And as far as I know, this is the first time I've actually had COVID at all in 4 years or so since COVID's been out. Now, I know COVID's a bit of a, whoa, don't talk about COVID on YouTube, but I'm not going to be bagging on COVID or really discussing vaccines or anything that much, so hopefully I'm not going to get banned off YouTube for talking about it. I wanted to make this episode to talk about COVID and my experience of COVID so far and how it's been on the carnivore diet, because I've seen a lot of people talking about COVID lately, saying it's coming back, it's really hitting them hard. People in the carnivore community forums, discussing like what are they doing about it, what do we do about it, what can we do about it, what should we do about it, what do we do with carnivore and COVID, all these kinds of things. So I wanted to make a quick episode just to talk about that kind of stuff, a little bit about how I've experienced COVID and what I think has kind of helped me to deal with it and what I am currently doing at the moment. Now, none of this should be constituted as direct medical advice. That is the disclaimer here. I'm not going to say, don't get vaccines or anything like that. No, look, that's not what I'm saying here. What I'm going to be talking about is my experience and what I am doing to help myself. So that being said, a little bit about the carnivore diet. If you're watching this, if you're new to the podcast, the channel, welcome. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Dr. Suresh Khirwadkar. I am a GP and lifestyle physician, and I am a carnivore doctor. I've been doing carnivore for almost 18 months now. No, that's not true. About 15 months now or so. And it's been absolutely amazing. It's absolutely changed my life. Now, if you want to know more about carnivore, go back through previous episodes and have a look at all of those. Make sure you check out the playlist for the Meat Medic podcast. Of course, this is one of the episodes. If you're listening on the podcast, thank you very much for tuning in. Again, as always, I'm going to be referencing some papers. I'll put links in the episode description for you to check out at your own leisure, of course. So, if you're new to carnivore diet is a basically diet where we're just eating meat. That's pretty much all it is. There's a number of variations out there, like lion diet, the kind of strict carnivore diet, relaxed carnivore, animal-based diet is another variation, which is quite a difference because of carbs as well. What I'm currently doing is a slightly relaxed carnivore diet, almost slightly into an animal-based diet actually, but I'm not quite doing that much on the carbs, at least not right now. And I'm going to talk a little bit about carbs in this episode, so people please don't freak out that I'm talking about carbs on a carnivore diet. They are not the end of the world. We don't need to fear them that much. Okay, so that being said, if you're wanting a guide on carnivore diet, make sure you check out the episode description where I'll put links for guides on the carnivore diet that you can get from my website. So let's get into it. So I've got COVID at the moment, and I started to get unwell around Tuesday, Wednesday, and it's now Friday here in the UK. So I'm on about day 3 at the moment, and I feel fine. I feel absolutely fine. I feel almost entirely normal. Very, very slight cough, nothing much. I've got some sinus pains. This one particular, my left sphenoid sinus, is a bit uncomfortable. But other than that, I really don't actually have many symptoms at all. And I haven't had any vomiting, haven't had any diarrhea, haven't really had any chest pain, breathlessness, any of those things. Which I was worried about if I would get COVID and if I would get those things, because I have a history of pericarditis, and I actually had it from the 2 of the COVID vaccines. Not saying that you shouldn't get the COVID vaccines. YouTube, please don't censor me. But I did have that from the COVID vaccine. So I was always wondering if and when I do get COVID, will I get pericarditis again? Will I get myocarditis? I've had that before as well, so I'm at risk. Thankfully, touch wood, I actually haven't really had any issues at all. So no chest pain, no breathlessness, no vomiting, no diarrhea. Did have some headaches, had some ear pain, had some disequilibrium. So I was climbing up the stairs the other day and I did feel slightly dizzy. But other than that, I've really had no real symptom. But I actually attribute that to doing the carnivore diet. Now, I'm not saying that carnivore diet is a cure for COVID. No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that everyone that gets COVID should do the carnivore diet. No, I'm not saying that either. What I'm saying is that I believe that doing the carnivore diet has helped me to probably not contract COVID previously, but also now that I have, to actually deal with it a lot better, give myself the best chance of not actually getting that much symptoms, and actually improve my chances, hopefully, of not getting long COVID, which is really important. I don't really want to get long COVID. I'm going to talk a little bit about that as well. The other symptom that I have noticed, which kind of really alerted me to it actually, was I've lost my sense of smell. Now, I've never had a great sense of smell. Anyone that knows me knows I've never had a great sense of smell anyway. But yes, I have lost my sense of smell. I opened some cheese up the other day and yesterday, in fact, and it was some Stilton. And if you know anything about Stilton, it's pretty smelly. Literally nose up to the Stilton. I could not smell it. And I said to my wife, you know what, I think this might be COVID. And then she actually sent me a message that we got from her in-laws, because we've been staying there for a couple of days, saying that they've actually come down with COVID. So there you go. Pretty much, yes, guaranteed COVID. Before anyone says anything, we didn't know we had any symptoms when we were there with them. We only got unwell when we were actually there, so we didn't knowingly give it to anyone. Please don't think we did that. We would never do that. Carnivore, I think, has helped me, and it's helped my family. My kids have had next to no symptoms whatsoever. They're all in bed now upstairs. Baby Noah, he's 5.5 months old now, so he's pretty robust. He's had a little bit of fever overnight last night, and he's pretty sniffly, but some saline rinse up his nose has kind of sorted that out, and just some, paracetamol, ibuprofen here and there has really helped him with that as well, but he's pretty much doing fine. My wife is doing pretty much absolutely fine. Like me, she had pretty much about 24 hours worth of symptoms, and then they've disappeared as well. The family, extended family, my brother and my mum who live here at my mum's house, they've been hit a little bit harder. My brother has been pretty fatigued, pretty tired, pretty exhausted. My mum has been complaining of pretty severe headaches, pretty bad sore throat on and off, just feeling wiped out, really tired, lethargic, really not wanting to do very much. They're fine, they're okay, they're fine, but they're not doing as well as we are. And again, I put that down to the carnivore diet. We're doing it, they're not. Obviously, there's other risks, there's other factors that go into it, of course. I don't know, there's people in the comments going to be saying, everyone's different. Yeah, I know that, of course. But I think it's just pretty coincidental. And this, I think, actually has some merit. I think it has some basis to it. I'm going to talk a little bit about some studies in a moment. But we know from research that COVID hits people harder if they're metabolically unwell. We know it hits people harder if they don't have as good vitamin D levels and get as much sunshine. Now, I mentioned I'm back here in the UK. Now, my in-laws, my brother, etc., they don't get much sunshine. They probably don't have a great vitamin D level. I've come from Australia, where we do get quite a bit of sun, and I am a bit of a sun worshipper now since going carnivore. I have become a bit of a sun worshipper, and because I just don't really burn as readily, and so my vitamin D levels are probably through the roof. And I made sure to sunbathe quite a few days before we came out to the UK, because I knew I wasn't really going to get any real sunshine over here. So I made sure to actually get a good dose of sun. So I think that's probably helping me as well. But carnivore helped me to get metabolically healthy, get rid of all my insulin resistance, boost my testosterone, reduce my stress levels, improve my sleep, improve my vitamin D. All of these are going to be massively boosting my immune system, which is going to be giving me huge benefit when it comes to COVID. And this is what we see in literature, particularly around long COVID as well. Okay, so I'm going to bring up a few little studies here. So number one, this metabolic profile of patients with long COVID, a cross-sectional study. Now, again, as always, I'm going to put links to the articles in the episode description. So I just want to read a little bit from the abstract here. I'm not going to go into all of these papers super in-depth. No, this is not that kind of video. I just wanted to do like a little kind of quick update, talk a bit about COVID, my experience of it now, I've finally had it, and how I think carnivore has helped me. And maybe what you might want to do if you're on a carnivore diet and if you get COVID. So, metabolic profile of patients with long COVID, a cross-sectional study. So this was a study released in 2023, actually, in March, published online from the Nutrients Journal. And just to read a little bit from the abstract here, our main findings show that abnormal metabolic profiles, such as high body mass index measurement and high triglyceride, glycated hemoglobin A1C or HbA1c, and ferritin levels are more prevalent in worse long COVID presentations, such as previous hospitalization and more long-term symptoms. This prevalence may suggest a propensity for patients with long COVID to present abnormalities in the markers involved in cardiometabolic health. Now, basically what that's saying is that markers of, kind of poor metabolic health, like raised HbA1c, for example, diabetes, you're going to tick that box pretty much by default. High triglycerides, again, people who are metabolically unwell have high triglycerides typically. High ferritin levels are usually associated with metabolically associated fatty liver disease, as well as poor metabolic health as well. And what they're basically saying here is they are more prevalent in worsening long COVID presentations. Now, what they're not saying is that these cause long COVID. And they're not saying that if you have long COVID, you have these. They're also not necessarily saying that long COVID causes these. Excuse me. But they're also not saying that these cause long COVID. So this is just merely an association. This is a cross-sectional study. It's really just an association. You can't prove causation. What they're saying is, if you have poor metabolic health, you're more likely to get long COVID. Now, I've had COVID for 3 days, 2-3 days. I'm not anywhere near that long COVID. But given I feel perfectly fine and I don't have anything that's remotely likely to cause long COVID, then the chances are I'm going to be fine. And I believe that carnivore has helped me with that significantly, because that's really improved my metabolic health. Going to this article here, Cardiometabolic Syndrome, an emergent feature of long COVID, published in Nature Reviews Immunology, in 2022 it looks like, 24th of May 2022. I'm just going to scroll down a little bit because it's a bit of a long article, just to highlight a point here. Interestingly, many of the hallmark signs of CMS, which is cardiometabolic syndrome, are shared risk factors for enhanced SARS-CoV-2 associated disease, which basically means long COVID. Obesity, diabetes, and hypertension, all of which are end-stage disease products of CMS, cardiometabolic syndrome, which is otherwise known as metabolic syndrome, are also strong predictors of COVID-19 induced hospitalization. Interesting. So, what they're basically saying there is, if you've got signs of poor metabolic health, you're more likely to get long COVID, and also you're more likely to do worse with COVID. You're more likely to be hospitalized with COVID if you've got poor metabolic health. And this is something I see with a lot of my patients who get COVID. The ones that do better are the ones that are healthier. I mean, it's not really rocket science. Look at another study here again. Again, as always, links in the episode description. Long COVID, metabolic risk factors and novel therapeutic management, published in Nature Reviews Endocrinology in 2021. Just highlight a paragraph here. Cardiometabolic conditions, including type 1 and type 2 diabetes mellitus, are associated with severe COVID-19 and long COVID as well. Interventions to target multiple risk factors combined with use of novel glucose-lowering agents that improve metabolic function and the key processes that are impaired in COVID-19 should be the preferred therapeutic options for management of people with long COVID. Now, again, this is not saying that metabolic health is the key, but it's basically saying that metabolic health is really, really important. Now, this one's focusing on kind of type 1, type 2 diabetes, but the point is really taken that metabolic health is actually really important. And if we just go back to this little bit here, we're saying, the use of essentially medications or therapeutics, any kind of therapeutic, kind of implementation that improves metabolic function should be the preferred therapeutic option for management of people with long COVID. So again, they're saying if you can improve your metabolic health, you're likely to do better with long COVID. And long COVID, the main treatment should actually be to improve your health. Excuse me, I have got COVID, I'm coughing slightly. Is to improve your health. Okay, I just want to bring up this paper here. So this is a paper, Long COVID and Overview. Again, links as always in the episode description, published in 2021. And this is, again, quite a bit of a long article here. And it's a pretty reasonable article if you want to read it. But I wanted to go down to just this long COVID real world situation, or scenario rather, just to talk a little bit about, why is this important? Why am I even talking about long COVID? And how could, maybe Carnivore actually help you to get rid of long or prevent long COVID, or help you if you did have long COVID? So reading from the article here now, a report from Italy found that 87% of people recovered and discharged from hospitals showed persistence of at least one symptom even at 60 days. Of these, 32% had one or two symptoms, whereas 55% had three or more. Fever or features of acute illness were not seen in these patients. So this is basically long COVID. So 87% of people showed some sort of long COVID by 60 days. The commonly reported problems were fatigue, quality of life worsening, dyspnea, joint pain, and chest pain. Cough, skin rashes, palpitations, headache, diarrhea, and pins and needles sensations were other common symptoms. Patients also reported inability to do routine daily activities, in addition to mental health issues such as anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder. So pretty significant things for long COVID, and this is why we want to really be trying to prevent long COVID as best we can. Now again, just looking back at these other articles here, we know one of the best ways to avoid long COVID or reduce long COVID is to be metabolically healthy. The best way for me that I have found myself to be metabolically healthy is the Carnivore Diet. That has given me that metabolic health. It's given me the ability to lose body fat. I've still got a tiny little bit to go, but it's given me the ability to lose body fat, to build muscle, to reduce my fasting insulin, reduce my fasting triglyceride levels, improve my HDL level, my high density lipoprotein, massively reduce my high sensitivity CRP, hugely reduce my homocysteine level, improve my testosterone, reduce my cortisol, improve my chronic stress markers. All of these things Carnivore has helped me do. And I believe that is going to give me the best fighting chance to not get long COVID. And if I do, to kind of get through it as quickly as possible. So Carnivore, I think, could be a really good option for people who are wanting to either avoid long COVID or reduce their risk of it, as significantly as possible, or if they are suffering from long COVID, Carnivore could be a really good option because it's going to likely give you the best metabolic health you can really get. Now, I mentioned at the start of the episode, I'm doing a very slightly relaxed carnivore, and I mentioned also about carbs. So let's talk a little bit about what I'm actually eating right now. So for the first day I had symptoms, I actually didn't really eat very much at all. And I actually mostly fasted just because I actually wasn't hungry. I didn't intentionally fast, I just wasn't really very hungry. And I listened to my body. and I eat intuitively. And I don't want to eat if I'm not hungry, because I believe that's my body telling me something. My body's telling me, don't eat, because either it wants autophagy or whatever it is. If you're not hungry, why are you eating? The whole, oh, you've got to keep up calories, and no, that's rubbish. I've got plenty of calories right here that I need to get rid of. No, I don't need to eat for the calories. My body tells me what to do. If I'm not hungry, that means don't eat. So I actually didn't really eat for pretty much the whole of the first day. I don't know whether that made a difference or not. I don't know, but I was just listening to my body. I was, however, keenly aware that fluids were really important. I mentioned I'm back in the UK, and that's why it's pretty cold here. When we actually landed today, it's a bit about 6-7 degrees. A bit of a change from the usual Brisbane, around 35 degrees when we left, Celsius, by the way, not Fahrenheit. When we actually landed in the UK, it was -3. And we'd gone from, it was 37 degrees C when we left Brisbane. It was -3 degrees when we landed. Literally 40 degrees C difference. That's quite a lot. What's that, like 100 degrees Fahrenheit difference to my American friends? Something like that. That's a big difference in temperature, external temperature. So hence the fire. Yeah, it's that side. But we'd come off pretty much a 24-hour flight, about 26 hours in total. And I hadn't drank that much. The food was pretty terrible on the flight, so I hadn't really had much food or anything there. So I was conscious of fluid, I was conscious of electrolytes. I was making sure I got my fluid in. But anyone that knows anything about carnivore, fluids and electrolytes, particularly electrolytes, can be an issue on carnivore. And I was conscious that I'm in the UK, I don't have any electrolyte drinks, I didn't really have that much good quality salt available, and I probably had COVID. Obviously now I know I have COVID. Didn't really want to go out to the shops and start buying loads of stuff and exposing other people. So what I actually did was ate a little bit of carbohydrates. Didn't really do much on that first day, but subsequent days I've actually been eating a little bit of carbohydrates. Now what I've not been eating is junk food. I've not been eating, garbage. I've not been eating mince pies and like sausage rolls and drinking mulled wine and all that kind of stuff that we have here in the UK over Christmas time. I mean, sausage rolls aren't really a Christmas thing here in the UK. Just that's what my parents have in their fridge, my mum. Now, what I've been having is basically things like fruit. Fruit is very low toxin, very low oxalates. I'm still very conscious of my oxalate intake. If you haven't seen my episode on oxalates, make sure you watch that one. Link in the episode description for that. I'll put it up on the card somewhere up there as well. So I'm mindful that I don't want to just start eating loads of garbage and then I'm probably going to get really unwell with that. No, so fruit is a carb source. When carbs help you to maintain electrolytes, and anyone that does carnivore knows electrolytes can be an issue. Anyone that does animal-based very much knows they don't have issues with electrolytes at all. Carbs do help you with electrolytes. Now, I'm not saying that carbs are essential. I'm not saying that carnivores should eat carbs. Don't get your knickers in a twist. The carnivore community, calm down, it's fine. But what I'm saying is, for me, right now, with COVID, a little bit of carbs, we're talking like a banana a day, not talking 400 grams of sugar. I'm not talking like 4 liters of fruit juice or anything. No, I'm not talking about that. Like 1 banana a day is helping me to maintain my electrolyte status. I don't have to worry as much about the salt that I'm having, and I'm able to hold on to that fluid a lot better, which I think is probably going to be very beneficial for me during COVID. Now, I don't know if I'm in ketosis or not. I don't have any urine dipsticks here. I don't have a ketone monitor, anything like that. But I don't really care that much. Ketosis is not some magical thing where if you're not in ketosis that you're going to die. No, it's a state where you're mostly just utilizing ketones. I'm still producing ketones in my body. I probably am in ketosis anyway. 1 banana is not going to throw me out of ketosis. But no, I'm not measuring that. If anyone's wondering, ask me, in the comments. I'm not in ketosis. I don't know. I have no idea. Am I feeling any adverse effects from having a banana a day? No, I'm not. None at all. So that's not an issue at all. I'm having no adverse effects from a banana a day, and it's really helping, I think, me with my electrolyte issues. Otherwise, what else am I eating? Well, I'm not eating that much because I'm just listening to my body. I'm not super hungry, but when I am, I've been having a banana a day. I've been having a lot of eggs. I've been having some steak, and I've been having some roast beef. And that has been pretty much it. A few burgers here and there. It's been a little bit challenging because my mum doesn't do carnivore. She doesn't do animal-based or anything like that. She mostly just does standard Western diet, which, as we all know, is not great. And I'm not going to post pictures of her fridge and fridge shame her or anything like that. But suffice to say, it's not the same as my fridge. So it's been a little bit challenging finding food that I want to eat. But she has got some steaks and stuff, and some roast beef and some roast lamb and other things like that. And some load of eggs. So I've been eating just eggs and a little bit of beef, a bit of carbs here and there, just a bit of banana and stuff here and there. That's really pretty much it. And salt and water. That's it. So it's a very slightly relaxed carnivore, just in the sense that I've been eating a tiny bit of banana. Otherwise, it's basically carnivore and fasting. And that's what I'm planning on doing. My brother, he's actually just sent me a message. If anyone heard the ding, that was my brother actually sending me a message saying he's just arrived. Locally, they're staying in a hotel nearby. We did tell them that we've got COVID, but they're coming anyway, so that's their decision. But Mum's planning a big, kind of dinner tomorrow and so on. So what am I going to eat tomorrow? I'm going to just eat the turkey, and I'm going to eat a roast beef, and that's what I'm going to eat. And I might have a bit of carrot, maybe. Something I'm going to stick to my carnivore principles. I'm not really eating junk food. I'm not eating, sausage rolls and mince pies. I'm not drinking mulled wine and all these other things, Christmas cake and all that kind of stuff that, my mum's going to be serving. I'm not going to be eating it. And she's slightly offended by that, but she understands that this is me and my health. And so I think she kind of gets it. So that's it really, guys. I mean, I've kind of rambled a little bit. I apologize if I've gone on, but I've got COVID. I'm on day 3. Pretty much after day 1, I felt fine. I really haven't had to do anything much with it. I've fasted for the first 24 hours. Then I've just done an ever so slightly relaxed carnivore with a bit of banana because it's a very low toxicity fruit and it's got potassium. I've been having, bacon. I've been having bacon for potassium as well. A lot of potassium in bacon and salt. So I've been having salt, I've been having bacon, I've been having mince, I've been having steak, I've been having roast beef, roast lamb, and that's pretty much been it, and a banana a day, just for those to help with those electrolytes. So let me know in the comments on YouTube if you've had COVID and carnivore, what your experiences were, what your thoughts were. Has carnivore helped you maybe deal with COVID? Maybe with long COVID. Has carnivore helped you? Love to know your thoughts in the comments below. Like, share, comment, all that kind of stuff. Follow me at The Meat Medic across all major channels. Thanks, guys, and I'll see you in the next episode.